This is the final stop on the president's 4-day swing through the West. It's a trip that has combined the business of selling health care reform with the pleasure of a family vacation. President Obama took a brief break from the battle over health care Sunday, visiting the Grand Canyon with his family. But there was no break for the president's deputies and allies, who made a hard sell for health care reform on the Sunday talk shows.
What happens if we do nothing? That's the riskiest option of all.
But Gibbs also suggested the president is no longer committed to a government insurance option that would compete with private plans, that he's open to the possibility of using nonprofit cooperatives instead.
The bottom line for this for the president is what we have to have is choice and competition in the insurance market.
Critics say the president is finally caving because he has no choice.
I think a lot of the proposals that the president has talked about and some of the Democrats have talked about are in deep trouble.
The president, meanwhile, in a Sunday New York Times opinion piece, said vigorous debate over health care is a good thing, but only if it's honest. We are bound to disagree, he wrote, but let's disagree over issues that are real and not wild misrepresentations. Later today, the president addresses the National Convention of the Veterans of Foreign Wars here in Phoenix. The scheduled topic is the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, but we're told he will also use the occasion to try to convince skeptical veterans they have nothing to fear from health care reform. Maggie?
CBS's Chip Reid in Phoenix. Thank you, Chip. Joining us now from Burlington, Vermont is Howard Dean, former chairman of the Democratic National Committee and former governor of Vermont. His new book is called Howard Dean's Prescription for Real Health Care Reform, and he'll talk to us about the health care debate this morning. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Maggie. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Now that President Obama has wavered on his insistence that a health care plan include a public option, do you think he should just come out and flat out say the public option is off the table, let's get on with this without it?
Well, the trouble is you can't really have reform without a public option. What a public option is essentially what veterans have and what people over 65 have. It's Medicare. And it works really well, and it's much more efficient than the private health insurance industry. They don't kick you off your insurance if you get sick. They don't stop you from getting it if you do get sick, and they don't charge you an outrageous amount of money. So if you really want to fix the healthcare system, you've got to give the public the choice of having such an option. If you don't want to have the public option, then you most certainly should not spend $60 billion a year subsidizing the health insurance industry. That is definitely not an option. Just do a little insurance reform, the kind that's been other states have done, including ours 15 years ago, works very well, and then we'll tackle health care reform another time. But let's not pretend we're doing reform without a public option, because the two aren't mixed.
But what if the public doesn't want it? President Obama's approval rating is down to 53%. 42% of voters believe he has mishandled this health care. How do you explain that he's losing public support?
Well, I think Bill Clinton's still the smartest political mind in America, and he said at a Netroots convention in Pittsburgh that as soon as President Obama signs the bill, his ratings will go right back up again, and I think that's true. Look, this is a messy process. It's a politics process. The Senate's not even back in session for another 3 weeks. My guess is the Republicans aren't going to vote for this bill no matter what, so there's no point in making a whole lot of concessions to people who aren't going to vote for the bill under any circumstances anyway.
But can it pass with this public option now that the president has essentially admitted that he's willing to compromise on it?
I don't think it can pass without the public option. There are too many people who understand, including the president himself, that the public option is absolutely linked to reform. If you don't have the Republicans playing seriously in this bill, you only have the Democrats, and the Democrats want a public option. And a public option is just that. You get to choose. If you as an individual don't want a public insurance, then you shouldn't take it for yourself. But I think you ought to let the people who do want public insurance to have that, just like they do when they're over 65.
In the last 20 seconds, your prediction, will this pass the way it is now with the public option?
It'll pass with the public option. The president will sign it sometime around December.
All right, we shall see. Governor Howard Dean, thank you so much.
Thank you.